Welcome to this new interview. And today we have Sofia with us, and she's working with me. She's a neurosomatic life coach. And I've been reading a couple of posts of her, and I really found some new stuff that I wanted everybody who's listening to get familiar with. So I invited Sophia today. I'll let her introduce herself. Sophia, please introduce yourself to the people who are watching and listening.
Hi, Dipanshu and everybody who's watching. I'm Sofia Ejaz. I am a neurosomatic and life coach, and I was trained as a life coach, but I realized like nervous system regulation was super important, and that was something that was missing. So I am now a neurosomatic and life coach, and I am integrating both of these practices, and I help people navigate their shame and inner critic, and I help them build more resilient and fulfilling lives. Thank you for having me here, by the way.
I'm glad. I'm glad that we're doing this. And I want to start by, the very first obvious question being, how do you define or like what do you do in terms of neurosomatic coaching? What does that mean?
So I got certified as a life coach, and I started coaching people, and I realized like a lot of the work that I was doing was like cognitive based. It's more like reframing thoughts, reaffirming belief, which is amazing and awesome. But if you are super stressed out and you do not have any capacity in your nervous system, it becomes very hard to integrate or embody any change, even if that change is good for you. And when you are trying to go for a change, you do put your body under a little bit of stress. So you need to have a better regulated body, a better regulated nervous system when you're trying to go for any change. So that is what I do. And that is the whole, like, I still help people reframe their beliefs, rewire their brain, but I also help them, or like I help them through that while I'm helping them have more capacity in their nervous system so they can actually embody the change that they want to have in their lives. And it's not just like sitting in their head.
Yes, that's so important to, growing your capacity of nervous system. And I talk about that as well in, my coaching practice that how can we, stretch the boundaries? How can we grow our capacity to feel more, do more? And I would want to know what kind of problems do you feel people have when it comes to their let's say changing their beliefs or changing their like how I see it is people keep trying on doing something and they keep on failing, and I think that's where we realize that it's not only about habits, it's not only about the affirmations and stuff, it's something deeper, it's something probably some beliefs and some capacity issues, right? So what's your experience been? What kind of issues you have seen people struggling with when they when you work with people around the nervous system capacities?
Yeah, I love that question. So the issue that I constantly run into, and that was me too, our core beliefs are formed when we are little children, right? And we are operating from these core beliefs, and we don't even realize that those are the beliefs that are running us. And a lot of times, if we went through also a trauma, like the neurosomatic certification I did, it is based on trauma and how it can affect brain. So let's say your core beliefs are, if I make a mistake, there's something wrong with me. If
Mhm.
I stand up for myself, I will be punished. If those beliefs are still in your system and they're running you and you're trying to now go against them, it will be very hard to do that unless and until you sit down and you look at what's been happening in your nervous system and you're able to like release not memories, but like that trauma from your nervous system, and then also work cognitively with them. And that was me. Like I had a very strong inner critic anytime I would try to like um do more in my work, aim for more. I would have a very strong inner critic going, who am I to do this? Who would want to work with me? Who am I to ask for this? And it became, and it's like, I know I want this. And I'm even taking action steps. I'm taking help. I'm working with clients to like go after my goals. But the more I tried to go for them, the heavier that voice would get. And there would be this internal conflict inside of me that like
Mhm.
therapy or like traditional coaching methods were not helpful in getting me out of that. But I feel like if you're working on a nervous system level, when you're trying to like rewire beliefs, it becomes more embodied, and like that becomes your new pattern. I think that is very, very important.
That's really interesting. And something you mentioned in there about that inner voice we have, like, who am I to do this? Who am I to try this? And I feel that, so I've worked with like hundreds and hundreds of people over the last couple of years. I've not met a single person who doesn't have that negative inner voice. Everybody has that. And every time we are trying to do something beyond our capacity, you know, like getting a new job, changing industry, changing careers, starting a new business, um, even dating somebody like secure and positive, right? We start getting those inner voices. And I've also experienced a lot in my sense that, some harsh criticism, judgment about like, who are you to do this?
Yeah.
Or looking for something really perfect, looking for, oh, like you shouldn't be hurt, or all those kind of, negative whispers, sometimes screams, like, who are you, right? Uh, Talk to me more about that. Like, how do you help somebody with those voices inside of your head?
Right. And that's a wonderful observation. Everybody who exists has an inner critic. Like that's something so universal, but I also feel so overlooked and misunderstood. I feel inner critic is your brain's way of keeping you safe. So the way our brains work, they want to preserve energy. So if they keep us in the same pattern, they keep preserving energy. So anytime we try to like make a change, it costs our brain more energy, and it feels, it's not safe. It's not safe. We got to stop him. So that voice comes, who are you to do this? Stop it right now. You're not feeling safe. So if we, the way I work with my clients, the first thing I tell them is that the inner critic, the voice that is like, who are you? Or you cannot do this. You cannot handle it. It's not the truth. It's only your brain trying to protect you, because it feels if you go for the change you're going for, you will die. Like literally the brain is like, we're gonna die if you do this. But that is not true. Like it's only trying to protect you. And if you can look at this voice as just a protective mechanism rather than the truth of you, like that's a mistake people make, that if they hear the inner critic voice, they feel like, oh, this is how I am, this is who I am, this is my truth. But that is so not true. Like that's a lie. Your brain is telling you to protect you. Like the main reframe that I build on is that the voice that you're hearing in your head is not the truth of you. So let's challenge that and see what comes up.
So now I'm interested, how do you figure out which voice to listen to? Because me wanting to do something is also a voice inside of my head, right? Like I really, for example, when I saw a new course that I want to do, or when I see a coaching I want to take, when I see that I want to, maybe this new career and new job, or this new business is, I want to try it. How do I differentiate this like crazy voice, or this really like spiritual voice, let's say?
Yeah, so I think what you're saying is like the voices, like the whispers that are very tick, 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 and that intuition that you get.
Hmm.
Way that I would differentiate is like whenever I have tick, 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 I would sit down. I know I'm caught up in my survival brain. I need to be able to like come down into my body. That is where my intuition is, to be able to figure out what do I need to do. So if I'm ever having those voices and I'm like, I do not know if it's actually helpful or bad, I don't know what to do, what is going on, I sit down and I regulate myself. I come back into my body and then I see, okay, what do I want to do? And at that time, once I'm regulated, it's not the check, 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 check. It's more like, let's try that. And that's it. And then I go and I do that thing. Or I journal about it. Do I want to do it? What's happening here? Blah, blah, blah. And I go and I take action. I don't stay stuck in my mind. So that is how I would like differentiate between intuition and the inner critic voice. If it's like that persistent voice that's like literally taking your force, like life force from you, it's keeping you feeling small, stuck, bad. It's making it's you being hard on yourself. Like that's your inner critic. Don't listen to that. You're better than that. Rather than sit
Um,
down with yourself, regulate, and then see what comes up and take action on that.
And also something that I've experienced personally, and I've seen that with so many other people, is um, not everybody is connected to their body.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are here because, of course, especially with the school curriculums, we have taught that if you could simply put things here and like blurt it out in your exams, you're going to do well in career, in life, right? Which is, of course, not very true. um, so something that I've learned over time is I needed to build a trust in my body, like a trust in myself in accordance to my body. I needed to build a better relationship with my body. I had
Mhm.
a very, limiting belief that if I start listening to my body, if I take rest, I will become lazy. Um, so I know you also work with a lot of people who go through overwhelm and overthinking, who are like a little too much in the head, right? So how do you help people come back to their bodies?
Oh, then the first thing I would do with them is like literally help them ground in themselves. So I'm a person, um, I'm not big on meditation. I feel like that's like the, not the status quo advice. Not that it doesn't work. I feel like if you're too much stuck in your mind, it's really difficult to actually sit down and meditate at that point. Like that, like for me, if I'm stuck and I'm like, hey, let's meditate, that's actually putting me in even more stress because I cannot do that. And I keep going, why can I not do that? If only I can do that, I will get out of this. So the first thing I will do with somebody who's, let's say, stuck in their mind is help them ground themselves in their body through neurosomatic drills. And how neurosomatic drills work is we are working with the nervous system. We're working with our body, giving ourselves better input so we can feel our body more. So we come back down into our body. One example I can give is like one simple exercise we do is like we take a cloth, we literally very mindfully rub that over our foot. If like I even help ask clients to like close their eyes and just sit with that sensation of their foot. Like that's all. You're not trying to like put thoughts out of your mind. You're not trying to like sit in the quiet. Just be mindful with the sensations you're feeling on your foot. Just stay there for 30 seconds if you can, and then come back and feel how you're feeling. And that simple exercise, it helps. Like I've tried it on myself many times. It's my go-to. And I've seen like clients also are able to like ground themselves like
Mhm.
much more when they're doing it. And of course there are other drills too that we stack on that we do one after the other so you're more in your body. Um yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the kind of concept that I also talk about. One of the exercises of feeling just enough outside of your comfort zone, just enough beyond your capacity. So I feel like, if let's say I ask you how much, emotions do you feel? Let's say, not a quantitative level, but a qualitative level. And you say like, I feel my emotions like 4/10. So we might be practicing, okay, what 4.5 might look like, what 5/10 might look like. And rather than, again, going for a Netflix binge watch or eating something or, going for travels, what if we sit just a minute longer with what's happening in the body, right? Um, Very interesting. Um, Another thing I noticed in your content and whatever you talk and write about is the concept of neuroplasticity, which I talk as well in terms of NLP and stuff, right? It's the core of NLP. So talk to me more about neuroplasticity and how does it help people grow in their life?
Yeah, I love the concept of neuroplasticity. It's the concept that our brains can be changed, our patterns can be changed because we are neuroplastic beings. And we are changing all the time, whether we know it or not. So whether you're like choosing to stay stuck in the situation, you are actually constantly choosing to stay stuck, so you will stay stuck in that.
Mhm.
If you are working on the mind, working on the body, working on the nervous system to repattern, to rewire, that is 100% possible because we are neuroplastic beings who are changing all the time. So my philosophy is, why not change that concept of neuroplasticity, that we are changing all the times, we are malleable, adaptable beings, and change ourselves towards a more positive action, a more positive behavior or belief.
Exactly that. And how I talk about this is, and I remember, I think you were also present in the last group session we had, with the group of coaches. And I remember talking about this, that flexibility is one of the characteristics of, like, I graduated as a, biotechnologist. So in biology, we study, when we are studying the um, basics, fundamentals of biology, we study that um, flexibility is one of the characteristics of what makes you human,
Yeah,
right?
beautiful.
So if we are too rigid, we are not. So I talk about human intelligence, right? The human intelligence is practicing more of what makes you human, which is adaptability, flexibility, and of course, learning new stuff, being flexible, adaptive to the nature. Um, so neuroplasticity is actually what makes us more and more humans,
Yeah.
the more we change, right? Very fascinating. Um, yeah. So you also mentioned about, being trauma informed, right? So I want to know more about this part. Um,
Being what, sorry?
Trauma informed,
Right.
right? So, how do you help someone who has actually been through some trauma in their life? Like, what is usually the first couple of steps look like?
I would say, like, I am somebody who comes from complex trauma. I have CPTSD, and that was the thing that was, and I was in therapy for a long time, and that was not diagnosed and not worked at, unfortunately.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah. So I feel like if somebody is coming from trauma, especially complex trauma, so complex trauma is something that is like elongated trauma where a person is not able to escape that situation. So the thing that is missing is that concept of safety. Like, if we were unsafe for a very long time, our brain adapts to that, and that becomes the pattern. We're unsafe, we're unsafe, we're unsafe. So no matter in, like, even if I'm outside of my situation now and I know I'm safe, like, at mentally I know I'm safe, but my body and like the deeper subconscious part of my brain is still not aware that I'm safe. So the first part, literally, that I would work with somebody who's coming from a significant traumatic event is to, you need to work on their nervous system regulation first. They need to have more capacity
Mm.
for them to feel, to literally calm down and feel they are safe. Like, before you can jump into any cognitive work, you gotta be able to, like, let them come back to their body, and that happens through nervous system regulation. Once they are back, you can start making small changes first so they feel still safe. Like, safety is big for anybody coming from trauma. Make small changes and see, oh yeah, I can make this change, oh yeah, I can make this change, and then build from there, all the while building nervous system capacity at the same time as well.
Very interesting. Um, yeah, that's helpful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're most welcome. Thank you.
Um, Yeah. So something else that I've known that, you talk about is, and I also very resonate with it personally, as well as, I've helped clients with it, is you don't need to push through productivity. You don't need to hustle. You don't
Yeah.
need to do more. Yeah, human beings, not human doings, right? Talk to me more about that, the hustle part.
Oh yeah, so I think we all can relate to the hustle part. Most of our societies and cultures are wired, our school systems are wired towards hustle. You gotta work hard to make something of yourself. You have to
Mm.
push yourself out of your comfort zone to get somewhere. Like, that is the messaging that we are literally grown up on. So it's very integrated in our brains, unfortunately, and a lot of people are running on that, myself included. So for me, I did overwork. I thought, like, it was, if I would work more, I would not feel what I was feeling. If I would work more, I would be better. I do not have to, like, look after my body or my emotions.
Mm.
to work hard, hustle hard to get where I want to. And it was only that I literally shut down. I couldn't I couldn't keep going. I burnt out. I realized, oh shit, this advice is actually not good. I I don't think that's how we're supposed to be. And I do agree with you. Like, we need to stretch the comfort zone, but little by little. We do not have to completely step outside of that because that is too threatening. And we live in an environment, we live in societies and systems and careers that are already dysregulating us. So we do not have to like step outside of comfort zone and completely dysregulate ourselves. Uh,
Exactly. I'd want to pitch in here a little. I want to add something to what you were saying. So I hate that advice of, like growth is, outside of your comfort zone. Like, I
yeah,
do not buy into that. I used to buy into that a lot, and then made me burn out. I was burn
that,
out for, a couple of years. Um, and something else more sustainable, what I learned was I can slowly and gently push my comfort zone. I can
exactly.
stretch my boundaries. And I felt that's been like a lot more sustainable for me.
Yeah,
Right. And something else, you were talking about working more and hustle. Um, a lot of us, I am including myself, have this idea, right? It took me years to work on this particular part, is that work, being a workaholic is kind of a one of these socially acceptable escapes from life.
yeah. It is a status symbol, right? The more you
Um,
work,
yeah,
the
it's like even like more than socially acceptable, it's kind of socially rewarding escape
yeah,
from life.
yeah. If you work more, it's like, ah, you're doing a good job.
Yeah. Um, it's fascinating because travel is a socially acceptable, escape from life, but workaholism is kind of a socially rewarding. And
Yeah,
more, so what I've learned is, and what I've experienced and realized with myself and so many of my clients is, um, working more really helps up to a certain extent. And then we need to focus on quality a little bit more. Like, of course, if you're only working, like, for example, somebody, with trauma, they might only be able to work like a couple of hours, 3 4 hours a day, right?
yeah,
For them, working on their, stretching the boundaries, maybe working 5 hours a day or even 6 hours a day would be more helpful, slowly and, slowly and gently. But after that, after 5 6 7 maybe 8 hours a day, it becomes so much more about quality and very less about increasing quantity. What's been your
I,
experience?
I love that. I feel like hard work is important, but I think that also needs to be not as pushing ourselves completely out of our comfort zone, especially for a long periods of time, not for years and years. Like I understand, let's say you are a business owner who's building his or her business, you're a newbie. You are probably putting in more work hours, which is totally understandable. But it can only happen till a certain amount of time. You cannot keep doing it.
Mm,
You're gonna burn yourself out. Like it makes sense to work hard for a bit, knowing there's an end to it, knowing that you're doing this mindfully, this is your choice. And yes, like you are here to take care of your body totally and completely. And like that is the first priority. Like that is how I see like hard work being a part of my life now. Like I think it's very important to work hard. I love to work hard, but yeah, I'm more mindful of my body and I understand like I may have to put in more hours when I'm building up something, but that's not that's not always going to be like how you're saying. It's more about quality after you have put that work in. And yeah, like I agree with that idea as well.
yes. Um, in addition to that, I feel the more, especially as people who are business owners or, who are doing freelancing, self-employed, we need to schedule some rest periods as well,
Yeah, totally.
right? Um, Interesting. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me. If somebody would want to work with you, how can they reach out and talk to me more about how can people work with you? What do you do in your coaching?
So for me, in my coaching, I coach people one-on-one. I love that. And my coaching modality, if you want to say, is life coaching mixed with nervous system regulation. Nervous system, I'm huge on nervous system regulation. If you're working with me, like that would be a part of every session. So how I work is like we help you regulate yourself, get more capacity in your nervous system, so you can actually start coming more back in your body, and you can start to question those inner critic patterns or even shame patterns. Like a lot of people are built on, I'm bad, I'm wrong, it's my fault. Like we work on, I love to work with people who have those patterns, and we work slowly by first building nervous system capacity and then questioning and reframing these ideas and beliefs into more empowering beliefs, so you can have a more fulfilling and actually successful personal and professional life.
Thank you for sharing that. So whoever is watching or listening, I'll put, Sophia's links in the description. So find it, check her website out, check whatever is on offer. And thank you so much, Sophia, for having this conversation. This was so resourceful. I'm very, very certain that whoever is watching or listening would be really benefiting from this. Yeah.
Really happy to hear that. I hope so. And it was such a pleasure being here with you. Thank you for inviting me here. I had such a great time. Thank you.
I'm glad. So whoever is here watching, listening, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye bye. Enjoy.